Hey there guys, welcome back to BackPocketGameReviews, and today we're going to talk about, is a PSVR still worth it? This was a video I've been kind of mulling over if I wanted to do, how I wanted to do it, if I did do it. And a lot of that is because obviously you all saw my video previously on my PSVR. I have talked about PSVR before. This is not my first venture into this topic. I bought one, I talked about it on the channel, we talked about the games they had to offer. We've been there. This is a similar road, but a kind of different message. I did state when I bought my PSVR that it was a very niche market. It doesn't have a whole bunch of games coming to it all throughout the year, and most of the games that do come to it are indie style games. While I do think the games that I have played are fantastic on it, this year also has brought very few games that I've been overwhelmingly excited for with PSVR. The only game that has come out this year that I was super excited for on PSVR, I've already bought, and that was Impatient. And there's, I think, 3 games I'm still looking forward to for the end of the year, and I don't even remember their names because they're not talked about as much. It's not something that's in the gaming forefront. It's not something that you're constantly hearing about. And again, there is a market keeping VR alive, and a lot of that's going to be your hobbyist gamers and people that are able to appreciate it for what it is. So for example, I don't get to play an overwhelming amount of games. My PSVR doesn't always get to get used all the time. I work a full-time job. I come home, I have 2 kids. I try to run my channel and make as much content for you guys as I can. But it doesn't get used quite as much as even I would like for my PSVR to get used. I've done 1 live stream in VR. I strongly recommend, if you're someone who likes to interact with your chat, don't ever try to live stream in VR. It is very breaking to the immersion to have Sony leave the chat up in the VR. Like, it is very hard to manage both. You are way better to just remove the chat, and a lot of my viewers come expecting me to interact with them. That was the one downside I had to my VR stream that I did. And don't get me wrong, while I enjoyed it and I had fun, it was enjoyable to get to show you guys the VR experience and what it offered. We played Job Simulator, by the way. Maybe I'll stream a couple of my favorite VR experiences here at some point for you guys, because most of them are very small and bite-sized, and there's not a lot of games that break into that full 20+ hours that you expect out of most modern games. And a lot of that's because of safety warnings of how long you can use VR for in one go. There's a lot of different factors that play into that, and again, studio budget and time to develop. But there are some great games on it. Like, I really like I Expect You to Die. That's a lot of fun. It's like a wonky, kind of funny version of being a James Bond, but sucking at it the whole time. And there's the Impatient, there's Mortal Blitz. I couldn't do Rigs. I tried Rigs. I know a lot of you guys really liked Rigs and recommended it to me. Rigs is the only PSVR game to cause me motion sickness. The only one. Skyrim in VR is a lot of fun, and that would be like your full experience. Doom VFR is fun as well, but now we're starting to dwindle on how many things are saying, oh, coming to PlayStation VR. And we're even starting to get things that aren't coming to PSVR. And there's a couple of factors that play into that. Your next generation consoles are on the horizon, and PSVR is the limited one of the headsets. It does not have the same amount of power as the Oculus or the Vive. It is limited in what it can do graphically. And you're not necessarily going to spend your time dedicating over to porting it to one system. Granted, it might have the most VR interaction right now. It's single-handedly sold the most VR headsets, but Sony isn't really dumping a lot of support in it. You're not getting a lot of first-party PlayStation games coming to PSVR, but Sony is relatively staying committed. At least that's the way they say that they're staying committed. I sort of feel like I bought a Vita. I'm not gonna lie. But without the overpriced headset. Instead I got overpriced motion controls. Yeah, sorry. I don't like PlayStation Move. I feel it was a terrible technology when it came out. I still feel it's terrible technology and doesn't work all that great. PSVR is a lot of fun. It is very enjoyable to play. The issue you run into now, though, is we are on the horizon of new consoles. You don't know if you're going to have a new VR headset. You don't know if there's going to be support for the old VR. My guess would be Sony's probably going to build VR into the console if they choose to proceed with VR. Like, you would just plug the headset directly in as opposed to having a second processing unit just for the console. And that's another thing is I can't keep it hooked up 24/7. It's just too much cables. So I do have to unhook and plug some things in and swap some things around when I'm wanting to play VR. So it would be very hard pressed for me to say, yes, you should run out and buy a PSVR right now. There are some great experiences to be had on it, but there's not necessarily a lot more coming, which is kind of a problem. And there really aren't a lot of AAA studio games coming over to it. A lot of that's support for older games that have come over. So it's really hard, and I feel like it's in such a weird position right now. It would just be so hard to recommend going out and buying a PSVR right now. Now, keep in mind, I bought mine like 6 or 7 months ago. Again, you guys probably remember that. I was very excited to get it, and I still enjoy it. But it's not for everyone. And I'm cool with being able to recognize that. I do still like the device, though. So if you are looking into VR and you are someone who likes PlayStation, you're not going to be horribly left out with PSVR. There are great experiences on it, but don't expect everything that comes to Vive or Oculus to start coming over to PSVR. Vive and Oculus do have a huge graphical step up and technological step up over PlayStation VR. PSVR is like the cheapest way to get into actual VR. I don't mean like a mobile headset, I mean like actual VR. So you'll have to try out how you want to try it out. Ask a friend who has one to try his before you buy it. It's not for everyone. You know if you're going to enjoy it, and you know if you're going to be looking for experiences that aren't necessarily going to be on it. It's not at a point where it's going to replace all of your gaming habits. It's not going to be the only thing you play on. And some games do add support still, like the Sega Genesis collection did, but there's not probably going to be a lot more to come. So, guys, I would love to hear your feedback on this down in the comments down below. Let me know what you think about PSVR. Do you think Sony is going to leave this dead in the water? I'm kind of curious on where you guys lie with this. If you enjoyed this video, though, don't forget to drop a thumbs up. You can also click that subscribe button. And if you want to follow me anywhere else, head into the description box. All my links are there. I'm going to have plenty more content coming for you, so stick around.